The film opens in an operating room with a nurse, Katie, who has failed to save one of her patients. Katie, in despair, sits on the floor in the corner of the room and looks up at the ceiling. There, Katie notices a large cockroach approaching. From that moment, her life changes dramatically. A year passes, and now Katie finds herself in a small apartment. The girl became a devout Catholic and now calls herself Maud. Every day she prays and talks to God because she thinks he has a great future for her. Maud loses her old job and starts working as a private nurse. She begins caring for a former American dancer and choreographer, Amanda, who is sick with stage 4 marrow lymphoma. At first, the woman seems to reject the new nurse. After eating dinner and giving Amanda medication, Maud washes the woman and takes her to her room. On the second day, while Maud is helping Amanda do leg exercises, the woman sees a saint's necklace coming out of her dress. Amanda asks what saint it is, and she replies that it is Mary Magdalene. Later, Maud notices a room with Amanda's old books and posters before retiring. As evening falls, Amanda puts on a wig because she is to meet with a man, Richard. Maud welcomes Richard into the house and goes out to the town. The girl sees a homeless man on the street begging, so she gives him a coin and blesses him in God's name. Then she goes to eat at a small restaurant and wonders how someone like Amanda ended up in this strange little town. Suddenly, Maud gets a call from Richard, telling her to come home early. As soon as Richard leaves, Amanda vomits. Maud cleans her up and takes her to bed. Amanda tells her she does not want to be alone and asks Maud about her past life. Maud says she worked in a hospital and confesses that she left that job because God ordered her to. Amanda asks her if she receives answers during prayers. Maud says she feels God's presence spiritually and physically, she hears his voice, and when he is pleased, she gets chills. Amanda confides in her that she often stops to think about what death will be like and whether there is an afterlife. Maud tries to comfort Amanda's fear by telling her that God is everywhere and will not abandon her. Amanda smiles at her and calls her my little savior. As Maud leaves the room and climbs the stairs, she feels God's presence, losing her strength and falling to the floor. She realizes that God has put the atheist Amanda on her path so that she can save and purify her soul. The next day, in the evening, Maud is washing the dishes and feels God's presence again, but she is interrupted by someone knocking on the door. A young woman, Carol, enters and immediately goes to Amanda's room, where she is waiting for her. Maud is in the bathroom washing her face when she realizes she has a nosebleed. The nurse then hears the women in the next room enjoying themselves. The next day, she sees Carol leaving the room, counting the money she has just received from Amanda. The latter eats her lunch in the living room and asks Maud to join her. The nurse agrees, but she says a little prayer before she starts eating. Amanda turns off the TV and joins in the prayer. Soon after, Maud feels God's presence and sees that Amanda is experiencing the same. With each passing day, the two get closer and closer. Amanda gives Maud a book by William Blake containing biblical paintings. In the evening, Maud still hears Carol and Amanda enjoying themselves. But, this time, she approaches the door to their room and watches them kiss. The next morning, Maud waits for Carol to leave Amanda's room and stops her to talk to her privately. Maud tells her to get away from Amanda because she is obstructing her path to spiritual salvation. Carol responds defiantly by saying it is none of her business what her patients do and accuses her of being homophobic. Maud eventually convinces Carol to leave Amanda without hurting her feelings. One evening, Maud goes out to the town again, and an old friend, Joy, notices her and says hello. Joy asks Maud what she is doing at the moment, and she tells her that she is now a private caregiver. The friend is very surprised by this, knowing Maud's nursing background. Maud makes her way to leave, but Joy stops her. She gives her her number and tells Maud to call her to go out for a drink together. The next day, Amanda and Maud talk and laugh together. Their relationship is going great, thanks to Carol's departure. Suddenly, however, Amanda gets a call and asks Maud to make her tea, sending her out of the room. Carol calls Amanda to tell her they can't see each other anymore. That phone call really hurts Amanda. Maud tries to cheer her up by asking her to go out to see a movie, but Amanda turns cold and orders her to take her to bed. Even though it is only 5 p.m., Maud obeys. Evening falls, and Maud goes to the kitchen. Probably by God's will, she unknowingly rests her hand on the stove and gets burned. The next morning, Maud brings Amanda breakfast. She tells her to go shopping because she is having her birthday party at her house tonight. At the party, Maud notices Carol's presence. Meanwhile, She and another girl turn off the lights and bring the cake to Amanda. Amanda blows out the candles, and people go back to dancing. While talking to some friends about her relationship with Carol, Amanda says that Maud kicked her out because she was jealous. Amanda begins to provoke the caregiver, knowing she is listening to her. Maud ignores Amanda and leaves but is stopped by some guests who put a veil over her head. Amanda calls her a saint, humiliating her in front of all the guests. The former dancer then tells Maud to relax because she is young and needs to have fun and avoid thinking about God. Maud says she has other priorities, but Amanda teases her again. No longer holding back from anger, Maud slaps her in the face. Amanda does not denounce the caregiver but fires her. Maud returns to her small apartment, thinking that God has rejected her or is leaving her signs that are impossible to comprehend. However, as she is nursing her wounds, a Jesus cross falls behind her, surprising her. Maud ignores this sign and goes out to drink alone in a club, rebelling against her religious principles. Soon after, Maud tries to fit in with a group of friends, but they ignore her. The girl feels sad and gets drunk to temporarily forget her suffering. Soon after, Maud calls her friend Joy to ask her to join her, but Joy tells her that she is busy right now. Maud feels the weight of loneliness becoming greater and, suddenly, notices a swirl developing in the glass of beer on her table. Maud is startled, collides against the table behind her, and sees that there are swirls in those glasses as well. She turns sharply and walks over to a large bearded man, who tells her to give him a drink. The two end up having fun together. However, the movements remind Maud of the operation she failed at the hospital. Suddenly, she sees the man's chest crack and screams in fright, thinking she has killed him. It was an illusion and the man consoles her. Later, the man says he remembers her because he had a fight with a friend of his when she was still a nurse. Maud, drunk, returns home and drinks some water. She realizes she made a mistake and asks God to guide her. The girl soon afterward vomits and, as fireworks break out, falls to the floor screaming with spastic movements. Above her, she sees a cockroach again, and soon after, she seems to suspend herself in the air as if possessed by God. The next morning, she regains control of her life and cleans the room. She burns some clothes and then puts nails on the soles of her shoes to purify herself of her sins. She puts on her shoes and goes out into town. She walks slowly, and for every step she takes, she feels a stabbing pain in her feet. Maud looks up Amanda on the internet and studies her life. Then she sees that she has found herself another caregiver, Esther. So one day, Maud goes out into town, follows Esther and starts conversing with her to get to know her better. Esther says she works as a private caregiver but still has time to devote to her passion, singing. Maud asks for more information about the woman she works for, knowing that it is Amanda. Esther says she is building a good relationship with her but that Amanda will not be around much longer. Maud leaves without saying anything. At night, in her apartment, she sees a strange silhouette in front of her and approaches. God is finally speaking directly to her. The divine voice tells her that there is only one challenge left before she reaches the divine embrace. And that's to save Amanda's soul before she dies. The girl asks what she must do, but God tells her she will find out for herself. Maud, confused, goes to sleep. The next day, she takes the bed sheets and puts them on like a nun's robe. Then she fills a bottle with water and blesses it. During the ritual, Joy reaches Maud's home and knocks on the door. She says she is busy, but Joy insists on entering. The friend apologizes to her for not going out last night and asks how work is going. Maud ignores her, and Joy tries to comfort her by telling her that what happened at the hospital was just an accident and that it was not her fault. Maud looks out the window and notices that a large vortex is forming in the sky. She realizes it is a divine sign and then kisses Joy on the cheek, blessing her. Maud tells her friend she used to feel lost, but now she has changed, and they will all see him soon. She thanks Joy and sends her away to resume the ritual. In the evening, Maud goes out and sneaks onto Amanda's property. She waits for Esther to leave the area and then silently enters Amanda's room, now on the verge of death. The woman, seeing Maud, apologizes to her for her behavior. Maud tells her not to be afraid because God has sent her to forgive her. Maud tries to make a cross on Amanda's forehead with holy water, but Amanda rejects her hand. The woman tells Maud that she is the loneliest girl in the world and reveals to her that God does not exist. Maud tries to remind Amanda of the day they both felt God's presence, but the woman admits that she has been pretending all along. Amanda insists that only two of them are in the room, and Maud starts crying. Immediately, Amanda's face distorts, and, Possessed by the devil, she slams Maud against the wall. Maud grabs a pair of scissors and kills Amanda mercilessly. Maud is proud of having eliminated the devil and returns home. The next day, she notices large golden wings behind her back. Without hesitation, she puts on the sheet again and goes to the town beach with a lighter and a bottle of acetone in her hands. Maud turns her back to the sea and begins to pray, looking at the people around her. Above her, she sees an immense whirlpool. Maud realizes that the time has come for her ascension and pours the acetone all over her body, attracting the attention of people, who shout at her to stop. The girl ignores them and turns on the lighter. Immediately, all the people in front of her seem to freeze. At her last words, "Glory to God," the golden wings reappear behind her, and at the same time, people kneel before the saint. Maud is happy that she has finally succeeded in purifying herself and getting closer to God. Unfortunately, this is only a grand illusion due to a mental problem. The film ends with the terrifying screams of the cadaverous Maud amid the burning flames.